Welcome to the Open Mic Podcast Show with Mike Midgley.
Hey, and welcome to the Open Mic Podcast. And on today's episode, I'm excited to be covering how to create a seven-figure brand organically through the power of Facebook communities without using paid ads. Today's influencer guest is Shannel Rivera, the CEO of Beauty and Hustle, calling in all the way from Las Vegas. And what I absolutely love about hosting the Open Mic show is interviewing what I would call truly inspiring entrepreneurs and learning about the journeys that they've been on, the stories, the highs, the lows, and just seeing that success really materialize and sort of come to the top. And I can honestly say hosting the show is one of my favorite things that I do, whether it's in our agency, our ventures side, our executive side, the podcast, because I get to meet some inspiring people, as I've said earlier. And it actually boosts my own confidence. So I know if the audience, we all have highs and lows, we have low points in the week, high points in the week, things like that. But seriously, I just get so motivated when I come into these podcasts and interview the influencers. Today's guest, Shannel, is certainly a true and inspiring entrepreneur that I'm looking forward to learning from today. And I think if we all understand where, there's too many gurus out there talking about traffic and funnels, and yeah, they're all important and things like that. But the importance of building communities within your business niche or personal network, do you know what? I'm a big believer it's never been so important. With the online power of social networks out there today, dominating not only the information we consume, but the way in which we communicate and whether that's through messaging apps, we seek help from our peers, request recommendations, through to the influencers that we follow. Let's be honest with it, they all make an influence and have some form of impact to the decisions and the choices that we actually make. And not only that, but the money that we spend as well. So being part of a community helps us certainly, to feel that we belong. We already have this in our lives. A typical example would be a passionate sports fan, for our American audience, whether it's baseball, NBA, ice hockey, American football, MLS soccer. Here in the UK, we're avid football fans. And you can see how, the fans, they travel thousands of miles around the country every year following the team, they buy the merchandise. And, you could to a degree even call that a community. So, there's a lot more community-based examples that we could use, but that's just one of them. And in the show, as I said, I'm very privileged and honored to welcome to the show an inspiring lady called Shannel Rivera, who is based in Las Vegas in Nevada. So welcome again to the show, Shannel. I appreciate you taking the time from your busy schedule and joining me to discuss the topic with the audience today. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
No, it's an absolute pleasure. And how's the weather in Nevada today?
It's actually beautiful. It's this time in Nevada right now where it's right before it's about to get 100 degrees every day. So we're enjoying open windows and open doors for about 2 weeks, and then it will be miserable in AC.
Yeah, I remember being out in Phoenix in Arizona in the summer months and speaking to a guy who used to work and renovate lofts in houses in Phoenix. And he says throughout the autumn and the fall it wasn't too bad and into the winter months. But in the summer when there was in people's lofts in the room, it was just so hot, like 118 or 120 degrees outside and it was even hotter inside. And it quickly got out of that business for sure. So we're not quite there yet, but I'm glad everything's treating you well over there. And for those who've not followed Shannel's work so far, Shannel's bio is pretty awesome to say the least. She's created a three-step method to find success in both business and in home life. Shannel specifically teaches women about how to have it all and unapologetically as well, and has created six-figure brands, which, congratulations as well, Shannel. It's soon to be hitting seven figures, I understand.
Yes, thank you. I'm such a rule follower. I'm like, I can't say seven figures, even though we're like this close. But we're really close.
We're really close. Well, congratulations. I'm sure you're going to get that over the line real soon. So, as I said earlier, Shannel has covered and built a six-figure, soon to be seven-figure, totally organic with the power of social media without using paid ads or sponsorship. All through growing hyper-engaged communities. So we're back to that subject about communities on Facebook. And Shannel's journey, like most successful entrepreneurs, me included, has started right in the bottom, and it's been a success journey to the top. starting as a $9 an hour part-time team member at FedEx to be the #1 district manager earning 6 figures within 4 years. And, wow, that alone is just an achievement, even if you haven't got to do all the rest. And I'm really looking forward to learning more about that in a few minutes as well. And throughout that journey, Shannel looks back and identifies that she lacked community and mentorship for other women. So like all awesome entrepreneurs, what do? You can either sit there and complain about it. And I know you guys who are driving in your car listening to this on audio, or you sat on the blog or the YouTube channel watching it, you'll be nodding your head there. And yeah, maybe I'm too negative and I do complain about it too much. But like all good entrepreneurs, what do? We get out there and do something about it. And, within weeks, obviously, Shannel, she looks back, as I said, she missed that community. She built her own Facebook group, and within weeks, having over 25,000 engaged members. So she took the opportunity of her engaged group to grow what I would say one of the top 100 most engaged Facebook groups through her brand and small business called Beauty and Hustle. And if you want to go and check that out before we get started on this interview, you can search #Beauty and Hustle online on all the major social channels. You can visit beautyandhustle.com. And also, Shannel has got a free training that is available. So you can also visit sasmethod.com. And you can watch a 1-hour free training session where all the things we're going to be talking about in the podcast today, Shannel's going to go into a little bit more deeper, a lot more sort of detailed instruction. And as I say, we will post the show links below. So don't worry about if you can't write that down. We'll get that sorted for you. As I wrap out on Shannel's bio, and before we pass over and learn a little bit more from herself, Shannel's also added some great direct sales skills to her portfolio. And through the Shop LaRue brand, and quickly grew to one of the top 2% channels through that space. So with such a what I call influential impact, people quickly started to ask how she was achieving these results. And Shannel has developed, as I said earlier, the SAS method, the 3-step process to finding success. And it's also about finding success, about the strategy, the authenticity, and of course the soul, which is super important. Shannel's taught the SAS method to over 500 clients, and it's catching on like wildfire with women empowering and delivering a mission. So she's proud to see huge results from the clients. If you want to connect with Shannel, as I said earlier, you can do that on all the major social media channels and search out the Facebook group #Beauty and Hustle. And as I say, we will post the channels below. So it's certainly fantastic again to have you on the show, Shannel. And I say, but before we get started and learn about your bio, I've got to raise this point. And I saw this quote on your website, and it's so inspiring. I'd love for you to get us started with your backstory and journey today about explaining why this quote is so important to you. So for you guys, if you've got a pen, try and scribble this down. I'll go as slow as I can. If not, we'll post it in the show notes again. And the quote reads as follows: "If I can be the inspiration and know how behind one woman being succeeding in life and business, then I have done what I was placed on this earth to do." So that is, if I can be the inspiration and know how behind one woman succeeding in life and business, then I have done what I was placed to do on this earth. Shannel Rivera. Wow, that is so empowering, Shannel. Tell me a little bit about, where did that come from? That has certainly got soul for sure.
Yeah, I just remember being in my corp life job, and like what you said earlier, is, kind of complaining in my head that there was nobody that looked like me. There was no women, there was no minorities. And I struggled a lot with that. And so I just remember thinking, I'm going to build something. And in my head, it was like, even if I can impact one person, there's one woman that's going to get up and her feet on the ground every morning and feel more empowered to, create a better life for herself, then I've won. And that was my mission in life, period. And so it really started with this whole feeling of, I may not change the entire world, but if I change the entire world for one woman, then I have done what I've done, what I was placed here to do. And so looking at that now, it's like, oh yeah, I've done that for quite a few women. So it's really awesome. And also now teaching women to have that same mentality. It's not just about creating their success, but it's about creating success so that you can reach backwards and find that one woman that you can, drag along to this success route with you. So I try to teach that to all of my clients and women everywhere, that while I'm excited for your success, I'm actually really excited for the day that you are so successful that you can pull back too.
That's amazing. That's great. You should have that statement on the wall, by the way. Have it printed on.
I was like, I've got some pretty cool statements all over my office.
Yeah, please have that one too. Here at the Success Hub, we've got a what we call a wall of appreciation. So all the personal development, all the courses, all the people whose influences, from the oldies like Ziegler and Napoleon Hill, Dale Carnegie, Maxwell Maltz, to some more modern people like Brad Martineau and Ryan Levesque and people like that. So we've got that, and we put all the statements that have such an impact on our life, and we call it our wall of appreciation. So you really should have that one on there, and that's an awesome statement. So thanks for sharing that, because a lot of people throw out quotes and claim quotes or try and modify quotes, but you can see that it's so authentic and, it's so in line with what you're doing, isn't it? And that values, is matched to that statement. And, do you ever get any pushback from the people, before, about, I can't do this. And how do you deal with that? Because I know a lot of the listeners here are going to be saying, I'm not confident, and and I know people say I can do it, but it's just getting started. How do you deal with that, Shannel? Getting that confidence into the people to believe in themselves.
Yeah, so I've been quoted as the no nonsense coach, and I think that with women in general, there's a lot of people in positions that we are not only as women taught to nurture others, but I even feel that men are taught to nurture us instead of guide us. And so the way that we are mentored is in this nurture state of, oh, it's okay. We kind of coddle women. And so what I'm really trying to do is show that isn't always necessarily the best direct path. Yeah. And so with my no nonsense approach of really telling it like it is, and, letting people know that you can either make excuses or you can make solutions. You can't do both at the same time. And so I feel that my approach is very direct and maybe a little abrasive at times, but it's what women need to make them go, oh, nobody's ever spoke to me in that, right? Nobody's ever actually dug that deep to get that little piece going, wow, I really could do this. So I think it's the way that I deliver the message is the biggest thing that differentiates me from anybody else I've ever seen help clients. And I found this so successful when I was a district manager at FedEx, even as a store manager at FedEx. It was really tough love. Like, all of the people that have ever worked for me will say, she's the hardest boss I've ever had, but I love her. And they would, want to come to my birthday party. So it's this very fine line of, we're going to stop nurturing. We're going to stop coddling it. We're going to get down to the truth. And if it's confidence that you need, then we get down to the root cause of what stories or limiting beliefs you have deep down inside. And then we're going to overcome those. And then you're going to see that you can be unstoppable too. So
that's the approach.
Yeah, it's a little bit, it's very direct, but women are not used to being spoke that way. So it really, it triggers something very quickly, which is why I'm able to get results very quickly. I mean, we do a retreat in person. It's my favorite thing ever, because I can literally see the light bulb go off and the tears come, and it's as if this woman has just literally turned into a whole different person.
Amazing.
And she, she's ready because of the way that I'm able to evoke some of that emotion, and also call them out on some of the things that necessarily aren't true, but that we tell ourselves every single day.
Yeah, that's amazing. And you mentioned about the FedEx story, and I touched it on as I built your bio up there. So starting out at $9 an hour. I'm a little bit older than you, Shannel, or a lot older than you. But here in the UK in the 1980s, when I started out as a motor mechanic, there was like a youth training scheme called YTS. And I started out on £25 a week. So that's about $30 a week. Back in about 1986, I'm showing my age here. And that was a tough old grind. You got users and abusers, apprentices. You were there to learn, but you didn't really earn a great deal of money, but it was the time of your life and things like that. So just share with me that starting point of you starting FedEx. You mentioned you publicly put it out there. You started on $9 an hour at FedEx, and some of the challenges that you faced. And in particularly, what I want you to cover is what was that breakthrough moment when either you went, was it when you got a promotion? Was it when you stood up for yourself? Because I know there's a lot of people out there who either feeling suppressed or not sure how confident to go forward. So starting on the ground floor, moving through the gears, what was that moment that, you thought, yeah, I can do this? And, that was that, I call it what I call flipping the switch. What was that moment for you?
Yeah, I really think there was two moments. And the first moment was when I knew I needed the change, right? So I was 25 years old. I was in love. That worked out, so that's okay. And we were sharing a car, and we were so broke because I was making $9 an hour, and he was working really hard, but we were trying to make ends meet. And I was sitting on a bus stop, and this shady character drove up and said some very derogatory things. And then I found out that I had missed the last bus. And I remember calling my boyfriend at the time, he's my husband now, but calling him, crying, and I couldn't afford a cab. There was no Uber back then. No. So that would have been amazing. But I remember walking home. It was from a movie. It was walking home. It was raining. I was worried about this weird guy that had just said weird things to me at the bus stop, and thinking, I'm too old for this. This is not where my life should be. How did I end up here? And that was literally that moment that I said, I can't. There has to be a better way. And luckily there was.
And did you feel you sort of ground out there? You'd hit the basement and you've crashed into the floor.
Yeah, I mean, that is hitting rock bottom, right? I mean, I think that my story is so relatable and is so transformative for so many people because I get it. I've had to return groceries. Yeah. I can remember that, standing in that little tiny apartment in Long Beach, California, crying and telling my boyfriend to go return the milk. And I've been there. So I think that that's why it really is so, transformative to so many people's, when they say, this is my last $100. I get that. I get that to the nth degree. So
you've walked a mile in their shoes. You understand it. You can relate to it. Yeah. And do you know what? Very similar, crashed out. I was sleeping, and again, some of my UK audience may or may not know this. Some of my private clients certainly do. But at 21, I'm sleeping on my mate's couch. I've got like a big sports hold all, sports in there. And literally outside of a few things in this battered old car I got outside, what I had in that sports hold all was what I had. And I had to borrow £5, which is, I don't know, about $7, to put fuel in the car to get to work the next day so I could get paid to pay it back. Otherwise, I wouldn't have got to work and got paid. So yeah, I understand it. And it's a really humbling experience when you've been in that situation. And to be fair, when you say you can relate to it, and, I use the phraseology, you walk a mile in the shoes. It is true because there's so many people who haven't been in that situation and mask it or try and play it. But believe you me, nothing in your pocket, owing, and not even really having a roof over my head was a similar story. So I get it. And how did you bounce back from that? Maybe what was the other thing that you wanted to cover? You said there was a couple of things. So, but I'm really interested in that journey and how you got to where you were today as well.
Yeah. So that was that moment of, there has to be a better way. And I started asking more questions at work. What can I do to get this promotion for 50 cents? What can I do to get that promotion for $1? How do I get your job? I started, to me, asking really, at the time, I felt very inappropriate questions is how I felt, because it's like, who are you? You're this part-time team member, but I had nothing to lose. I was already at rock bottom. So I started to ask those questions. How do I get there? How do I do that? Because in my head, I knew that I had the work ethic and the drive to do more, but I was so ashamed of asking, how do I get there? And then when I hit rock bottom, it was, how do I get there and how fastly can I do it? And so that next moment was actually the moment that I met, and still to this day, I love him to death. He was He had just got on as a new district manager for my district. He walked in and something overpowered me that day. And I said, you know, I mean, at that moment, I wasn't the type of person to walk up and introduce myself. And I had this gut feeling like, you need to know this man and you need to tell him who you are, and he's going to figure it out, and he's going to change your life. He's going to give you ways to change your life.
Yeah.
And so I walked up to him like I owned the place. Hey, you know, I'm Shannel Rivera. I'm this part-time team member, but I know that you're new to this district. I really want to get promoted. How do I do that?
Awesome.
And that moment changed my life. And still to this day, when amazing things are happening, I call him in tears, you know, because he recognized something in me that I didn't even see for myself at that moment. And he also has a very abrupt and very direct teaching style. And I said to myself, if I can get him to take me under his wing, I literally can change the whole trajectory of my life. Yeah. And it was so true.
That's amazing. The thing is, I covered it on a podcast earlier this week about, you know, nothing is just going to come and sort of, you know, land in your lap. You've got to go out there and get it. And that's certainly what you did. You identified it and spot the opportunity. So, you know, for any listeners out there, you know, wherever you are on that cycle or that ladder, you know, you may be at rock bottom like Shannel and both I have been in the past. That's okay. But what's not okay is sat there complaining about it, sat there with your hand out. You know, you've got to think about it. You've got to get smart. You've got to sort of align yourself. And, you know, as long as you're polite about it, even though it can be a little bit direct, you go up there and say, hey, I'm keen, show me the way, help me. And if the first person doesn't do it, find somebody else. Just keep asking. And there's a lot of people, especially in today's, you know, we're in 2019. And, you know, the altruism sort of play, a lot of people are prepared to give back. Yeah, sure, there's people out there who will just take. But there is a lot of people who are saying, hey, you know, shoot me a message. I'll help you. Or if I can't help you, I'll point you in the right direction. Find a mentor. If you're struggling, shoot me a message. Use the hashtag, #TheOpenMic. Leave a comment from the blog below. Shoot Shannel a message on Facebook, or, you know, connect with her on LinkedIn. And just ask. You know, most people are going to take the time out there to help you. As long as you're polite with it and respectful, most people are going to do that. And, you know, don't expect. Go out and get it. And most of the real people are going to, support you. So that's awesome. And talk us through the progression through FedEx and to how it translated then into getting involved with Beauty and Hustle. I know I touched on it there a little bit, but I'd love to hear it in your own words.
Yeah. So once I met this man, his name is Jose, and, you know, I rattled all of these things that I needed out of life to him. He invited me for an interview to become an assistant manager of my location. And so, you know, I remember it's so crazy how these are 10 years ago, but you remember it like yesterday.
You do,
because
yeah.
They were so pivotal in your life. And, you know, so I remember trying on clothes and, oh my gosh, it's like my first real interview, and going, and, you know, he was asking me all these questions, and he says, you know, what's going to happen, because you have friends that work in this location. You've been a team member in this location. What's going to happen when you're the boss? And I remember saying, nothing changes. I only get to wear fancier pants. That's all that changes. I'm already awesome. Boss, you know? And it was at that moment that I really felt, okay, I've got this, like, because it was true. I was helping them with so many things without being compensated or without a title. I was being the leader of that store. And I got promoted the very next day, and I remember feeling free because I was now making $13 an hour. Wow!
Like I say, it's like $1 million.
I actually went home and wrote down a list of all the things that we wanted and all the things that we needed, and I remember crying because on our wants needs was a new mattress, and I was like, in like 8 months, we will be able to afford a new mattress.
Amazing.
This is amazing, right? So very quickly after that, my store manager actually transferred out of the store, and so they kind of left me there in limbo, and I'm thinking, I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm getting no training. But this newfound person of myself was, we're gonna wing this and we're gonna figure it out.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what ended up happening is they couldn't find a replacement for the store. You know, he was saying that he was interviewing people and that nobody was quite fitting. And so a couple months went by and this store was in the mud. We were at the very bottom percentile of everything: sales, turnover rates, you know, any metric you can throw out there.
Yeah, you were in the ground, yeah.
And I remember 3 months going by and looking at the biggest, we had one big structure that would kind of regulate or tell people how good that store was doing based off a variety of things.
Metrics, yeah.
And I had moved, we had moved from the 4th quartile, which was the very bottom, to the 1st in 3 months.
That's amazing.
And I remember thinking, I'm onto something here. They better not show up with somebody, right? And so, you know, my district manager came in and said, hey, we're still looking for people. We're so sorry. And I remember shutting the door it's so crazy because it was so out of character, and saying, listen, you need to give me this store. And he looked at me as if I was nuts a little bit. And I, you know, looking back, he thought I was nuts, but he also knew I could do it.
Yeah.
And I said, I need you to give me this store. There's no way that you can march a new manager in here. I'm the boss here. We are making huge gains. Like nobody has ever done this in the store. You have to give me this store. And he said, they'll never go for it. You know, it wasn't like he could just promote me. No. He's like, they'll never go for it. And I'm like, I need a call with your boss. Like, you know, all of a sudden I'm somebody, right? And he, you know, he just kept looking at me like, I feel like you can do this, but I feel like you're kind of crazy. And I remember specifically telling him, listen, give me this position. And if I can't bring this to the very top, you will never have to fire me. I will quit. Yeah. I will walk out of here. Like, I will not be your problem child. You won't have to worry about me. If I fail, I will literally look you in the face, tell you I failed, and I will walk away with dignity. It won't be this whole thing. Yeah. And he got me a call with his boss, and I was on the phone for like 3 minutes. They hung up, and the very next day I had a store. Oh, I had no idea what I was doing, but here I was. I had my own store.
But the key thing here is, if I just sort of back you up a couple of steps there, Shannel, you mentioned about you went from call out 4 to call out 1. And maybe it wasn't sort of conscious that you didn't know what you were doing, but like I said, you were figuring things out. Share with a couple of things, because I'm sure a lot of the listeners are in the business, they're in the ground, they're wanting to get up to the next level. What were the maybe 2 or 3 things that you did immediately? And for the listeners and the people watching on the podcast, these may not be relevant in your business. Some will, there may be similars, but just listen to Shannel. She's come in, they're in the bottom, they're grinding out on quarter 4, absolutely hitting the dust. Within a period, they're in quartile 1. Talk us through maybe 1 or 2 things that you did and implemented straight away that made it move, which is what I call that action that moves the needle. That
Yeah. Number 1 thing was I concerned the people, meaning this was now a democratic society within our 4 walls. And it really was, hey, what do you think about this?
Yeah.
Hey, what schedule do you want? Because maybe there was somebody that really wanted the morning and somebody that really wanted the nighttime. And that inclusivity immediately made us stronger. It was, wow, somebody's actually listening. Somebody that can make a change is actually listening. And so I say that no matter if you have a team of 1 person, you and yourself, or you are a CEO that has millions of workers, the people always need to be heard and responded to fast. For some of them, I remember them very specifically going, well, when I work down the street, they have a water, like a water jug, and we don't have that. And so I went and asked for water. I'm like, these people need water. Can we get some water? And, and it was those little types of changes where my team members were immediately going, oh, things actually can change and we are, important here. So that would be the very first thing. The second thing too was getting really strategic with numbers and seeing what levers really were important and what were fluff, because no matter where you work, if you're especially in a corporate setting, there's a metric for everything,
There is.
And so for me, it was really about stepping back and analyzing data, which that was a skill set I didn't even realize that I had. But I was able to look at things and be so creative with how to turn dials and get people excited, for example, with sales. What type of contest could I have to make people want to sell more pens? Yeah. And looking at it so creatively and strategically was able for me to move that needle really, really, really fast. And then having the employees feel wanted, trusted, and valued, it made them go even further.
Yeah, that's amazing. And if you're selling your business, thank you so much for sharing that. I think that it's so often you hear about how businesses, we get involved with business turnarounds and, whether they lose a big contract or they need reinvesting and refinancing. And, getting the people on board. So sticking your hand up saying, hey, I might be the boss, but hey, this is the trouble that we're in, or this is the performance that is a business that we're all a part of it. I want you to come in and I want to listen to you and I want you to have an input. And as soon as bosses do that, and whether that's a hierarchical boss or it's a flat structure, it doesn't really, really matter. As soon as people feel involved, you always get the skeptics pushing back, but most people will say, do you know what, the honesty, I buy into that. This person's pretty decent. There's a better chance of succeeding, keeping my job, keeping my mortgage, keeping my car payment running with this person than maybe going out into the big wild west and, picking up a new job. So if you're out there, get your people involved. And one thing that Shannel mentioned there, even if you're a team of one, you've got one person working for you, get that person involved. They've probably got an idea because they're sat there looking at you worrying, thinking, well, I don't necessarily want to say anything, but I could help. So that's an awesome thing. And then the second thing is, as a person, numbers. I love numbers, data boards, finance numbers, metrics, but only the key ones that actually move the needle. Because like you said, there's so much fluff out there and it's what we call vanity metrics, but that's awesome. And so you turned it around, Shannel, and you proved the boss right. You didn't have to walk, I take it.
Yeah, he didn't have to fire me and I didn't have to fire myself, so it worked out greatly.
Yeah, and obviously from there, before we get into the questions about the subject, just talk to us about the transition, about how Beauty and Hustle come around. I know you mentioned earlier you didn't have that community feel, you felt isolated, you didn't have that peer community and things like that. So bring us up to the point where you exited FedEx or your corporate, and you're thinking, right, I'm going to go for Beauty and Hustle. Just tell us about how that came around.
Yeah, so Beauty and Hustle actually came about when I was still at FedEx, and when I was at FedEx, I was moving through the ranks very quickly, and what I was noticing is once I started moving away from middle management, so store managers, there was tons of diversity, whether it be more women or more minorities. But as I continued to grow, and once I got promoted to being a district manager, I remember, I don't know if they have these in the UK, but there used to be magazines, and on the front of the magazine, it was like, circle all of the things that don't belong here, and it would be like all this sports stuff, and then it would be, something like a car, and you're like, oh, that, whatever. Yeah, what thing doesn't belong here? And I always felt like I had nobody to relate to. It was really, really depressing. And not only that, what I was being told at work was, don't wear your pink lipstick. We don't want people to know you for that. We want them to know you for your results. And I'm like, why can't I do both? I own the lipstick that's on my lips. Like, I created it. Why can't I do both? And I just remember it literally felt like a crisis, like identity crisis. And going, if I feel this alone and lonely and this misunderstood, there has to be other women that feel the same way. And so overnight, I launched Beauty and Hustle, and it grew so fast. And I just kept thinking, wow, this is way more than just makeup, which I felt like, okay, maybe I'm doing this because I can't wear, a hot pink eyeshadow to work. And so I want to play around with makeup. And what I quickly learned is women need that sense of community, of belonging, and people that can actually hear them for who they are, all of those layers, you know. Because being told, you know, your hair shouldn't be looking like that, or your clothes shouldn't be like that. It was like, why does any of that matter? I'm throwing up the biggest results ever. And so I wanted to create that community. And so I did that.
You wanted to break out of that restriction and set your own rules.
Yeah. And I knew, I mean, I didn't feel comfortable trying to do that at work.
Yeah.
And so I felt like I needed a place for me to belong and a safe space for me. And in doing that, I created this safe space for, you know, thousands of other women as well. So I did both of them for a long time. And then I launched a direct sales business. And because of my background with Beauty and Hustle, and there was people that followed me, you know, we launched that business and we immediately saw huge traction, and we're so grateful and blessed for that. But then I found myself burning myself on, not even just on both ends, it was literally burning the candle at both ends, and a candle was underneath me, and I had no idea, you know, what to do or how to maintain everything. And so, yeah, it was a lot of, you know, a lot of times people say, oh, well, I have this great idea, so I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to do it. And I'm like, you know, unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. There was a lot of times that I would work 20, 22 hours a day because, you know, I was doing FedEx, you know, and I pride myself on, I wasn't on my phone working on Beauty and Hustle while I was working. I have too much integrity for that, you know? So while I was at work, I was working, and my personal phone was always stashed away so I wouldn't, you know, and then I would come home and have to work on Beauty and Hustle, and then I would have to go live and sell clothes for my direct sales business. So I was working a lot before I realized, okay, I have sustainability in these other avenues and growth in these other avenues in order for me to quit FedEx.
And did you find that as you were doing all those hours, because it's a debate that, you know, I know Gary Vee started it out where he's talking about, you know, 6 days a week, 18, 20 hours a day. And, you know, I've had various other discussions with other entrepreneurs, and, you know, my view is that, you know, I don't believe 6 or 7 hours a week, you know, 6 or 7 days a week, 16, 18, 20 hours a day is effective. I think there comes a point where you just go to comatose and you become then, I'm not saying proud or average at everything. I think, you know, I respect more than anything Gary Vee, what he's achieved, and, you know, I subscribe to his stuff and things like that. But I think he's an exceptional individual, a one-off individual that maybe has got that, you know, he's, you know, carved out of granite or something that allows him to be able to do that. And he's awesome. But I think the masses of either New Start, Next Level, you know, the people who are bossing it, I don't think that, you know, I'm not saying it's 1 in a million, but it's certainly probably 1 in 10,000 who can do that. And for me, I think getting that work-life balance, being good at one thing consistently, good, and knocking that out of the park. You know, you can delegate or be average at other areas, but you've got to be good at something. And for that, you need headspace, you need to recharge, you need to think, you need to, you know, you just can't bounce out of, you know, going to bed at 1 in the morning and getting back up at 6 for that time. That's just my view. And if you disagree with that, you can come on the show and shoot me a message using the hashtag The Open Mic, and I'll be happy to have a debate with you about it. But ultimately, I think that's what you were saying. You got a burnout, Shannel, at some point. And, you know, did it really affect you at FedEx, or did it affect Beauty Hustle or the Shop LaRue? So, you know, did you become average at everything, or did you see your performance dropping?
Yeah, so what I saw was that Beauty and Hustle itself was starting to struggle, because when I was showing up on Facebook, I had to be live making money. And then obviously while I was at work, I mean, I was the #1 district manager for years. So I'm too prideful to ever have let that go. I worked way too hard. Yeah. But I started to lose the very thing that I love the most. And I will say, I do agree with Gary Vee on certain things. There's a lot of times that people want passive income, or they want this great idea and they just want everything to work right now. And I definitely think that you will burn out, but I think that there is going to be some times that where you do have to work those long hours. But if you have a great strategy and this vision of where you're going, you can, you can keep your head above water for a little bit, but then you need to be able to have that strategy. What I see is people want to, throw caution to the wind, quit their jobs, and and not do the work. And so I think that that's the biggest thing that like somebody like Gary Vee is really trying to instill in people, and me too. It's that
you've got to do the work for sure.
Yeah, once you do the work, I'm pretty sure that Gary Vee, he has got a team of everything right now. Once you do that work and you set that groundwork, sure, like you can, offload multiple things. But for me, I was broke. I didn't have an opportunity to hire anybody to help me with anything. So I feel like sometimes there's a lot of people trying to skip the struggle.
Yeah.
Whether that be financial struggle, whether it be time struggle, whatever that may be, we try to skip that whole step. And it doesn't work that way. Do I think that you can have sustainable success working 7 days a week, 20 hours a day? No. And I also teach people how to not do that. But you can't also skip the struggle.
You've got to do the shifts, haven't you? You've got to get the shifts in, and you've got to do that work. I agree.
Yeah.
And there is, a quick example. I employed a lady back in 2003. A lady who came in on the telephone, and she'd only been with us a couple of months, and she says, I want an Audi A3. I'm not sure if they call them Audi A3s in the bar. An Audi A3, and our policy at the time for level 1 reps was Peugeot, so they had the French Peugeot car. I want an A3. I said, well, why? She said, because, I deserve it. I said, well, no, the results from the board are up there. And she was a great sales lady. And her work ethic was right, her passion was right. So we said to her, hey, cross this threshold, and then what we will do is we'll put one order for you. Cross the next threshold, and then we'll deliver it for you. So we'll go earlier, we'll go out of the way, but we want to see the result, the motivate. And she wouldn't do it. She just wanted it now because she thought she was entitled. And of course, sometimes that's a bad culture fit, so we ended up shipping her out. Just for being patient, doing the hustle. Like you said, hit this number, we'll order it. Hit this number, keep hitting this number, we'll deliver it. And you'll be the first person on that grade who gets that, but it'll be result-driven and self-financing. But she just didn't want to put the shovel in the ground and do it early. She wanted it all there and then. And it doesn't happen that way, does it?
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing too is that, I teach people to do a 6 or 7 hour workday.
Yeah.
But that 6 or 7 hour workday really is equivalent to a 20-hour workday, but you have to work those 6 hours like your life depends on it. And so many people want to show up and scroll on Facebook and go, take the dogs for a while, and feed their kids lunch. Those are all awesome things, but that is not time in your day with your head down, grinding out your business. And so I think that that's the biggest misconception is, yes, you will burn out, but no, you don't get to skip any of that. Like you have to work really hard.
Absolutely. Well, that's an amazing backstory, and I'm so proud of you as well, because what I loved about more than anything, I'm going to go and get it. I'm going to go in there, I'm going to shut the door and say, hey, how can I get on? Show me how to get promoted. I'm like, give me the job. That is absolutely amazing, and congratulations, and you deserve all the success. That's great. So I appreciate you sharing that journey, and as I say, congratulations again. You should certainly be immensely proud of the results that you've got, and I know you're helping so many people. So let's get moving on how to create a 7-figure brand organically through the power of Facebook communities without using paid ads. So this is going to be an awesome podcast. There's a great backstory there, and again, you can feel free to check in with Shannel on all the major social channels using the hashtag Beauty and Hustle, or search that. But also don't forget to visit sasmethod.com, the 3-step deep dive 1-hour training that Shannel's offering free. And she's going to go a lot deeper into some of these topics that we're going to now cover. So just to sort of get us started then, Shannel, here. Obviously you've shared your stories of women coming back in some of the struggles and those things that you felt you were getting pushed back on. But tell us more about the importance of women empowerment. You're serving that female entrepreneurship or that female audience. So tell us a little bit more about that. What do you mean by, and what are you doing about that to sort of make those major changes? I know we've covered a lot earlier, but it'd really be just good to sort of zero down on a 101 on this and let us know.
Yeah. So in my corp life, obviously, and then even when I moved into direct sales,
Yeah.
what I learned was there was no women facilitating training to other women.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like a you wouldn't hire a football coach that's never played football
Yeah.
and doesn't really understand the game the way that I know it. And so what I realized was that women really, really needed this new way of being taught, and they needed to hear those hard truths, and they needed it to come from somebody that they could relate to.
Yeah.
And I had this aha moment. I was sitting at my direct sales convention that they do every year, and there was 10,000 impressionable women in the audience, and every keynote speaker was a man. And I remember being so judgy. I'm sitting there feeling so judgy, and I'm telling myself, don't judge people. And I remember this guy coming on and talking about, he started talking about mortgage, and then he started talking about some type of, rugby. I don't know. He totally lost me. And I kept telling myself, stop being judgy, right? Because that's what I tried to put into the universe. And then somebody behind me goes, I'm totally lost. I have no idea what this guy's talking about.
Lost the
And so it confirmed to me, I am being judgy, but I'm being spot on right here. He wasn't able to connect and or relate. And I just remember being so frustrated and thinking these women need to hear actionable steps that can actually help them. And so I was really excited because the closing keynote was actually a woman, and I was excited to hear her spin on it. And I got there early, and I was again found myself frustrated because she literally started her talk with, hey, I normally deliver this to men, but I've tried to tweak this a little bit. And everything she said was very geared towards a male dominant audience. And I just remember being even more frustrated. This is supposed to be my saving grace. And it was really in that moment then that I knew that I had to go way beyond makeup and even clothing and teach these women how to show up for their jobs and how to show up for their life, so that, because you see there's either people that are like, oh, women should stay at home, or it's, oh, if you want to have this career, then you can't have a successful marriage, or you can't have the kids. You need a pick. You get to be a stay-at-home mom or the successful, editor-in-chief of some magazine. That's what you get, right?
That didn't sit well with you, for sure.
Yeah, and I'm like, why can't I have everything?
Yeah.
Why can't I have everything that I want? And so it was in that moment that I was really sitting there going, there has to be a better way. There has to be a better way. And that's when I launched my very first class, and 300 people signed up immediately. And I didn't even have a course like, I knew what I wanted to teach, but I didn't have anything created. I didn't have a website. I had nothing except for this, irritation inside my soul of there has to be a better way
to get out there.
Yeah, and I mean, and that course, we've now had over 500 people go through the course, come to in-person events in Vegas for retreats. And the coolest thing is, yes, they're learning tips and techniques, but they're forming this sisterhood of empowered women going, I can have it all, and I'm here to cheer you on too.
Yeah.
And I'm here, and I'm here to share. I think one big thing about me too is that I don't show up to social media and go, my life is perfect. I share all the bad too, and I think that people really relate to that.
Yeah, they do, because you connect, and I don't mean this disrespectful to any listener, but you're connecting at their level, and some people will find it relevant, some people won't. It's a little bit like this show. Some people say, hey, Mike, I'm way ahead of this particular point, or hey, Mike, I'm nowhere near that. How will I ever reach that? So people are at different levels, and I think the authenticity is the key thing there. And for the listeners out there, just be yourself. Nobody lives in a soap opera, which is what I call the Disney films, where everybody lives happily ever after that. it's rare. It's beyond rare. So, but that's great. And I think the frustration is born out to sort of say, hey, I'm going to go out there and empower women. There's a great sort of module teaching in the Jeff Walker product launch formula, if you ever get a chance to look at that. And he talks about why I went out there. And one of those things is what he calls the reluctant hero. And, he said, I'm doing this because I'm fed up of this situation and I want to make a difference. And, that's a great cause. And it sounds like, you just wanted that empowerment. You wanted that. But I've had enough of these people. I'm going to go and do it myself. So that's amazing. And to get that number of signups and attendance is fantastic. So congratulations again. And so moving on, Shannel, the listeners of the show and people watching online, how can they leverage their personal branding and unleash that power to sort of be successful? How do you address that when you're going through these courses and coaching people?
Yeah, I think the very first step is people understanding that A, a personal brand is necessary right now. B, you're worthy and deserving of it just as much as anybody else that you see out there doing it. And that you just have to start. So many people will say, oh, well, I don't know where to start. I don't know how to start. And, really pulling back those layers of a personal brand is exactly just that. And it can evolve, and people want to see your authentic self, because no matter who you are, what you sell, or what you're trying to do, there's always people that can connect directly to your story. And women especially try to create somebody else's story that they've seen that has success, so I could easily say, oh, well, I see the Kardashians and I see how they're doing it. So that's how I'm going to create my success. I'm going to follow their path. And the answer is follow your path, but tell those stories. Yeah. And personal branding for me really is about storytelling and then connecting imagery through that, so that people then start to identify things, and they'll see something, you can see I'm very hot pink and black, right? They'll see something and it will literally at Target, and it will take them back to a story that I've shared with them because of my personal brand. Or they'll see something with the word hustle on it and they'll immediately take a picture, they'll tag me in it. And I'm not there, I'm not telling them a story, but what it's doing is it's creating this loyal audience of people that really feel connected to you, because the truth is you are connected. You're telling those stories, you're sharing, all of the goods and the bads, and you're also sharing with them that they can have this too if that's what they want. And some people that have followed my journey don't want my life, but they love me, and that's totally cool. And there's other people that think if she can do it, I can do it, and that is awesome. I want them to think that. So personal branding is so important, and especially right now we're in this era of the influencer. And if we think 20 years ago, the FedEx name by itself was enough. You didn't need a commercial, and if they did need a commercial, they didn't even need a celebrity. They just got somebody that would look like a good delivery driver or whatever. Nike, same thing. But if you look at how ads and things are being ran now, they're calling upon influencers and they're telling stories. And that's where people don't understand that influencers really right now are the way to go. I mean, I just got invited by Facebook. We are one of the 10 Facebooks in all of one of the 10 Facebook groups in all of the world, and I'm going to be on Facebook ad campaign. They just launched a huge ad campaign, and Beauty and Hustle is one of the faces of that ad campaign.
Amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you. And it's really because I show up to the platform authentically every single day. And, Facebook did a lot of researching and investigating before they signed the 10 of us up. And they said, your story is great. We know exactly who you are. We know exactly who your avatar is. And we feel like if we push people your way, you'll take good care of them. And that's what I'm trying to teach other people to do. And I could have easily 3 years ago said, well, I'm not an influencer. I'm nobody. I'm boring. I don't have time for that. Nobody knows me. But instead, I used the attitude that I adopted at FedEx, like, I can do this, and I just rolled with it. And I started asking hard questions wherever I went.
Absolutely.
And if you don't ask, the answer is always no, right? So
yeah, there's a great saying out there, and this is sales. You'll appreciate this from a direct sales point of view, Shannel, but it applies in every situation. And it's one I use a lot in my coaching groups, and that is you'll miss 100% of the sales you don't ask for. Now, that could be applied. You'll miss 100% of the opportunities you don't ask for, or whatever you go. And, back to the influencer point of view, personal branding, influencing, every business, if you sat there, it doesn't matter if you're in, agricultural, international harvester combines, or you're in water filtration systems, you could be in some kind of garden maintenance. Don't sit there being held back thinking I can't be an influencer. Shannel's a true example of it. There's a host of other people out there who are going out there, and you've got to dance between the nettles sometimes to find out the real ones and whatever. But, we're all in that situation. I do the open mic. That's my personal brand, the open mic. I do this because I actually love speaking to entrepreneurs. I love sharing the stories. I love sharing their stories with my audience. As I said earlier, right at the top of the show, it gives me such a boost in the arm. But going back, you talked about that evolve, I started out, my podcast was called Cast Hub, because we're with a success hub as a business and agency, so we'll have Cast Hub for podcast hub. It just didn't quite go. And then we just changed it. We went to the open mic, and, I have hashtag the open mic. I have the branding for the open mic. We use the Lamborghini because of growth engine and things like that. And then, but, you always get me. You either love me, you hate me. One thing you're always going to get, like Shannel, you're going to get a direct answer. And sometimes that's a little bit of a slap around the face, not literally or physically, but it's just like, hey, shake on the shoulders time, guys, wake up and stop feeling sorry for yourself and get out there and go and get it. But here's some tips and some help. The influencer out there helping the communities. You can be an influencer too. You can boss your industry. You can become a known face. And, it's not about perks, but it's the associated deal flow that comes across your desk, to the fact that, more contracts, more retainers, more opportunities. Shannel's an example of this here, guys. Facebook, one of 10 companies that they've selected, and Shannel's one of them. And if she hadn't gone out there and got that wouldn't have happened for sure, because they recognize power, passion, authenticity. So, what I'd love to do, shoot Shannel a message and share the influencer story with her. Shoot me one using the hashtag the open mic. I'd love to know why you're trying to get out with influencers. And, we've got so many resources to help you get started, whether that's personal branding, finding your niche, what the subjects you're going to be talking or pushing out there. Shoot us a message. That's no obligation. We're not going to charge for that. Just shoot me a message. I'll be more than happy to get that answered for you. So that's an awesome. Congratulations again on the Facebook.
Thank you.
Sort of association. It doesn't get much better than that. Wow. It's amazing. I'm so pumped with it. That's great.
Thank you. I know they just flew me out to Memphis this weekend, and they just gave us the okay to break our NDA or start to talk about it. So I was like, oh my gosh, I get to talk about it today. I'm so excited.
So when does that start? When does that all kick out?
Yeah, so Miley Cyrus kicked it off. They flew her in for a surprise performance this weekend, and we got to meet her, and we got to see little snippets of it. Beauty and Hustle was the last campaign to be shot, so I didn't get to see any of my stuff yet. But if you guys Google hashtag more together or Facebook more together, they're starting to release some of that sneak peeks already, and I'm dying to see mine. My mom is dying. She's like, we need to see yours. And but so we'll be on billboards everywhere. We'll be on taxi cabs. We'll be on Facebook ads, Instagram ads. And I mean, meeting the other admins this weekend was exactly confirmation of the type of influencer that the world not only needs, but that the world is starting to respond to. Because for a long time it was, the flashier you are, if you rented a Lamborghini and you showed it, or you rented the mansion and you pretend like you're having a yacht party or whatever, that people were responding to that. But, and I called it on January 1st. I said, this is the year that the true influencer is going to blow up. And obviously this is before I knew about the Facebook ad campaign or any of that. But it's so true, is that we're in this era where people want to connect with like-minded individuals, and we want to belong to something. We don't want to fit in anymore. We don't want to say, oh, well, she's doing it, so I guess I should wear my hair that way. We want to belong somewhere. And Facebook is the absolute best place because of Facebook groups. You can really find different people that share your path. I mean, I had one of my group members drive like 2 hours each way to meet me for breakfast in Memphis. She wanted to meet me, and she's followed my journey for 3 years. And it was so surreal to me to be at this amazing hotel with the Facebook team and have one of these amazing women that I've helped so much, and sitting there having breakfast like if we knew each other forever, and talking about winged eyeliner, and then her crying about how much her life has changed. Like, that is
that's real, isn't it? That's real.
Yeah, that's the power of Facebook. Instagram to me is very much a highlight reel, and Facebook, if you show up authentically all of the time, you're going to attract your soulmate people that they want to do whatever it is that you want to do. And with meeting those other admins, it was so cool to see that there's like a sci-fi group, there's a barbecue group, there's mom groups that are part of this campaign. And it's just really amazing to sit in a room full of people knowing that they're literally changing people's life through what they love the most. Whether, it doesn't matter what it is, I mean, I went to the Facebook Community Summit in 2017 in Chicago, where Mark Zuckerberg was there changing the mission statement of Facebook. And I remember looking around, and there was like Democrat group, the Republican group, and everything in between, and I remember them. I just remember that feeling of, we're all changing the world. And even though they have opposing views, they're all the same person because they're passionate about what they believe in, and they're passionate about helping others that believe in the same thing, no matter what it is, And so I feel like that's the part that people skip on Facebook. It's like, oh, well, I just want to show up and, tell everyone to buy this phone. It doesn't work like that anymore. Before, if this phone was a great brand, I could go on here and go, hey, this is the hottest iPhone, buy, and everyone would buy it. But now I've really learned that my consumer buys into not only my products, which are amazing and valuable, but they're really buying in to my journey. Yeah. And that's what people need to be really focused on right now.
It's an amazing point. And when you mentioned both the Democrats and the Republicans, here in the UK, we've got the Conservatives and the Labour as the two main parties, obviously the splinter groups and all sorts of sort of shadow parties. But I do buy into that, because nobody goes to work to do a bad job. They're all trying to get to the same goal better. I'm talking politics here, Shannel, not necessarily influencer, but in the reference states. Is, they all want better healthcare systems, better employment systems, better quality of life, better customs, better economies, and things like that. But they've just got a different way of getting there to that end result. And then you either agree or disagree, you push back on that or whatever. And the influencer community. And I love the statement that you used there. 2019 is the year that the influencers are really going to expand and really show up and blow up happening. I love that, and that's a great example. And it's an amazing sort of story, and that sort of adds even more sort of colour to that journey. And thank you very much indeed for sharing that. That's great. I know we've dipped in and out of this subject a little bit, but I just want to sort of zone it into a concentrated sort of session. And that is, what are the essentials to using Facebook to scale to six-figure business? I know we've talked about authenticity. I know we've talked about showing up. I know we've talked about being, the journey and the stories. But anything else you can fill in and around that subject for us?
Yeah, I think, the absolute most craziest part is how much my FedEx life parallels with my Facebook life. Because if I think about that first day of being super scared of having this new store and having no idea, my initial thought is go to the people. What is the people actually, what do they want? And with Facebook, I went to the people, and it's all about the people. This, I even feel weird saying, like, people are following my life, but they are. But I feel like I don't get up and do this every day for me, ooh, look at me, I'm on a billboard. It's like, we're on a billboard. Yeah. We created this. We did this. What do you do?
Part of my journey, yeah.
And so I think that the biggest part about Facebook is really not trying to show up and show out and be somebody, but to really be somebody so that you can help impact those that are the most important to you and that are going to show up for you. So I think number one is be there for the people, in the same way that I was there for the people with FedEx. And really, what is it that you need from me? And like I said, I've sold, Beauty and Hustle hoodies and lipstick, and then I sold clothes, and then I started selling coaching because that's what the people wanted,
Yeah.
And if tomorrow they want Beauty and Hustle real estate, I would look into it, whatever it is that they want to see me. I almost feel like the people that watch my journey are always looking at me like, can she do it again? I've been known to literally get to the top of success and then set it on fire and walk away.
Yeah.
And I think that that's so intriguing to people because they're always wanting to see, can she do it again? Is this a fluke? Has she done this? So showing to those people and showing up for those people that are really there for you is the number one critical thing. The second thing is consistency.
Yeah.
So often people, and it's funny because people will message me and say, gosh, you got so lucky. I see that your posts get 300 likes or whatever. And I'm like, I've been doing this for 3 years. Yeah. So I don't really call anything I do lucky. I've worked really hard for it. If you'd like me to teach you how to work hard for it, sure. But the number one thing is being consistent, because what we do is we put ourselves out there, and especially as an influencer, part of it is very personal, right? So if I share this story about Facebook is picking up Beauty and Hustle, we're going on ad campaigns, and if nobody shows up for my live and nobody reacts to it, I'll be honest, I would probably be a little sad. But what we don't do is consistently keep showing up day after day so that we can build that audience. Yeah. Because I have done everything organically, but it wasn't consistent build, of getting people there. And the other thing too is really being strategic with your Facebook and understanding that, you're going to be there for the people, you're going to show up consistently, but have a game plan. Where do you want to be in a month, in 3 months? And is that realistic? Because so many people are like, oh, well, I just, I want to go viral and all of these things. And it's, what I always teach people is, if I was to give you, let's say, a live video that did have 1,000 people, could you even handle that? Because that to me is worse, right? I don't want to be unprepared for anything. Being ill prepared, I think, is worse than having no one show up while you are prepared, and then you build that audience. So I think that that would be the major steps for Facebook. And obviously, authenticity is golden. You can't look at who's doing what and go, you know what, I'm going to emulate them and I'm going to be the next them. It's, you can look at people for inspiration, but you are you. Nobody can duplicate. Yeah.
We all do that. I mean, as I said earlier, I pull out a lot of the oldest stuff, Maxwell Maltz, Napoleon Hill, Dale Carnegie, Ziegler. And you don't just quote. Yeah, I like quoting those things to reference them. But with our coaching programs, in our agency programs, you take a little piece of all the things that's either worked for you, or like I said, we have our wall of appreciation, and we pull that in there and we drop it in there. But, the main core of what we do is our IPR. It's what we do. It's how we deliver what we deliver. And, you will push or pull or, paint the colors or change it around a little bit to include some things that other people have done for you. But I always give credit. And there's a great statement about Zig Ziglar. There's 3 reasons why he does that. Is 1, that it's the respectful and right thing to do. 2, it shows you've done your research. But 3, if they get it wrong, you can blame somebody else. Now, that's Zig Ziglar laughing. But there's a few things that he actually says about, doing that type of thing. But, taking the 3rd thing out of it, which Zig joked about. But, doing research, giving credit where credit's due, and then, wrapping it in and making that authentic. And, nobody just wants to sit there and just see people just reel out everything that they've seen from originals. Because people will see it a mile away. They will. And then they start to tune away, and then you get audience dilution, degradation, and things like that.
Yeah, well, and I also, something that I've adopted within like the last year or so is purposefully not reading the books and not listening to so many things, so that my ideas are authentic, because I feel like sometimes we try to emulate so many people and listen to so much that we stop thinking for ourselves. And so I try to, yeah, I really tried to take a break from listening to all the noise, because like, oh, this person's up and coming, you should listen.
Yeah.
And actually, some of those people are now getting in trouble for not quoting the right people on, their Instagram pages and stuff. And so I've tried to just silence the noise and only listen to those people that make me really, they're so thought-provoking that they make my own thoughts come to light, where I'm not just regurgitating what they're saying, but they go so deep that I'm like, oh, wow, I have my own thoughts on this too. So really like funneling that down and finding people that inspire you to draw the most authentic self is super key.
It is, and it's like that igniter, that thing that they said, or the things that they do. Yeah, I believe in that. I agree with that, and then you grow it out into your own sort of thing. And sometimes it's noticeable that hey, that was referenced there, but other times, because you're authentic brand, it just becomes part of yours. And no doubt other people. Let's be realistic, guys. If you sat there listening and thinking, hey, what's the ultimate, idea that's never been done before? Everything has been done within the technology and spiritual and faith and global and technological and a human capacity. There's nothing that's really not been done to a degree. Yeah, when Zuckerberg and the co come out with the smartphone, that's totally revolutionized, that's changed. But those come along infrequently and they're so rare and scarce. So, whatever you're doing, it's a good chance that something's been done like that or similar before. So it's about making sure that you can sort of latch on, keep that authenticity out there, keep it running, keep providing value and relevance to that audience as well. So
and putting your spin on it, your true spin on it. How does what that person say really make you feel, and what are the actions that you're taking with that information and then going out and doing it? How are you putting it into use?
That's fantastic. So the $1 million question, Shannel, is how do you grow an organic following on Facebook that converts into pounds or dollars and that loyal fan base? Talk us through those steps that are critical for people wanting to grow that fan base.
Yeah, and so I started, a lot of people would always ask me, how did you find success at FedEx? In your direct sales with Beauty and Hustle? And for a long time, it was just showing up and doing what I need to do. And the more I was being asked, and the more I realized that people needed the actual answer, I started to really think about how I was able to, zone in on no matter what I'm doing. And this applies to any business, any group, any type of following you're trying to build, any relationship too. And it's what I called my SAS method, which it's really showing up strategically and having a plan of action, and not only creating a plan, but following through on the plan. So many of us make the to-do list and we never get up and do it. And so I think that the strategy behind it is, so many people get wrapped up on these huge, like, oh, well, I need to do this, this, and this, and this. Okay, sure. Like, I'm sure I could sell more courses with the website, but I didn't have a website. I just went out and started to execute. And I built the website a year later, right? And so it's really about having that strategy and then showing up authentically and telling those stories, and making sure that they're your stories. They're not other people's stories. Because like I said, people are attracted to me, and I'm able to bring in my soulmate client. And one thing that I teach my clients is to show up onto Facebook with 3 pillars. And my 3 pillars means, what are the 3 things that you love the most that you could sit here and talk to me about for hours, right? What could you sit here, and you could just rattle off all the things that make you happy in those things, and then show up strategically with those 3 pillars. So for example, with me, it's makeup, women empowerment, and my dogs. Like, my dogs are my favorite thing ever, right? And so if you start to utilize those authentic pillars, those are, right? Now, people that are attracted to me love dogs. They love makeup. They love the sisterhood. And so I'm starting to attract so many more people that are just like me through those 3 things. Now, they may, live in a different country. They may have opposing views about other things, but we are soulfully connected by those 3 pillars, and that's how you start to attract more and more people.
That's a really interesting point. I've got to ask, I'm sorry to cut you loose there, but I'm going to ask,
fine.
Type of dogs, what type of dogs? Is it a specific type of breed, or this is just totally off script, by the way?
Yeah, it's okay. So I have 2 pit bulls. They're all rescues, but 2 pit bulls and one is a lab pit mix.
Oh,
So I'm
brilliant.
obsessed with them. If you guys ever look at my Facebook feed between the times of like 11 p.m. and 4 a.m. in America, Pacific Standard Time,
Yeah.
you'll see all of the sappy, dog crying videos. That's my time that I schedule to myself to use Facebook like everybody else uses it, and just watch amazing pet videos. So if you guys have any pet videos, you can always send those to me too.
We've just so you know, we've got 3 chocolate Labradors here as well.
Oh, I love it. I
So they
love
go
it.
berserk and keep. We call them the chocolate mayhem. So
I
that's.
love it.
I will send you a picture for sure. But that's just me
Please.
totally off script. Everybody's sat in the car thinking, what on earth is Mike and Shannel talking about? Dogs, dogs, dogs. Absolutely love them. So that's awesome.
But
So
do you see what I mean? So you may not like lipstick, but instantly we're attracted and bonded over something. So now, if you weren't going to friend request me, or you weren't going to follow my journey because you're like, she's a woman lady and a makeup lady. Now you're like,
we're
she posts the
becoming.
best pictures of her dogs ever. So do you see what I mean? Instantly, you
Yeah,
have that attraction
that's
to
a
somebody
perfect.
that really loves you and really gets who you are. And they may not do the makeup, but you may have somebody that will want it eventually, right? So
It's that
I think,
association, isn't it? I speak to my wife and I say, "Hey, Shannel loves dogs. You know, she's got 2 pit bulls and a lab pit cross and things like that." And then and then you know what she's going to say to me? She's going to say, "What's that lady's Facebook again?" And guess what? She's going to go on there. She's going to get introduced to that brand. So you can see how this works. By the way, I just want to be totally clear. One of my biggest things that I do, I lead with integrity. That was not a setup. That was just a natural thing that I just happened to ask because I love dogs myself. Anybody who works with me in the farm coaching, come on, we live on a farm, Shannel.
oh my God.
Yeah, I live in a farm in the middle of nowhere, and I've got 3 chocolate labs. So a lot of my clients see my chocolate labs running around and things like that. So they notice it.
I might have to come
But to
visit
prove,
you.
yeah, but to prove the point there, we just opened up a conversation. And yeah, sure, I'm interviewing Shannel, and she's added so much value. But just out of that curiosity, and I connected. But wow, what do you like? I like dogs. Okay, yeah, I'm not the makeup side there, but sure. And the women empowerment, I support that all day. But that as a guy, that's not what I'm connecting with. But the dogs, it is. We have a conversation. We open it up, and it's whether you sat with somebody in a plane and you say, or in a restaurant, you're on holiday around the pool, and you say, "Where are you from?" And you say, "Oh, I'm from, Leeds or Sykehouse or in the UK, or I'm from Vegas or whatever it is." "Oh, I'm from Vegas as well." And then, of course, you've never seen that person ever in your life, but ultimately you're suddenly talking about, "Hey, what do you think to that restaurant? Or do you go to the game? Or where does your wife or your kids go to school?" And that things, and that's in the real world around a swimming pool on holiday or the airplane or a train seat, if you're commuting or anything like that. But it's exactly the same with what Shannel's saying there about these 3 pillars. So turn up with the 3 things that you love. That is absolutely awesome. And great example, Shannel. You seem to sort of segue straight in and work and prove the point for sure.
Yeah. And I think that a lot of times with social media, people overthink what they're going to post. So if you let those 3 pillars guide you, it's really easy because if you go look at any of my posts, and it's not to say that I don't have other things that I love, like my family or my husband, but you will not really see me post too much about my husband because he's not one of my pillars, and because I do try to live some of my life privately, but you see my home with my dogs, or you see my home as I'm doing my makeup, and all of these things are people like, oh, I can get behind her 100%. So and then the last thing is really having your heart and soul in it. And I think that this is huge. I mean, not just specifically for women, but for anybody. There are so many times that, we say we want something, but we really don't want either. We don't really want it, or we don't want all of the stuff that comes with that. And so for the soul part, it's really about, approaching Facebook and understanding what you're getting yourself into. If you want to be an influencer, buckle up because it's not an easy ride. But if you do want it, it's really about, showing up soulfully all of the time so that people really can make those genuine connections. There are people that could take the 3 pillars and then they just make like these stories, but you see, like, I'm already planning a trip to your farm because that's literally who I am at the core of who I am. And so it's really about showing up, and then also approaching it with the same way that I look at it, that I do schedule myself to be away from Facebook. So the sole piece is, a lot of people will say, well, I make all my money on Facebook, so I'm on Facebook all day long. And it becomes this thing that literally feels like it's soul sucking you. And like I said, I literally have on my calendar every night time to watch stupid dog videos because they make me happy, right? And what's good is because it's, my time management is so great about it. During the day, if I'm working, if I see something that I have, I feel compelled to watch, I just save the video and I go back to it later at night. Because I've built that time management system in to say, I do love this dog video, but I'm working right now. So I'll get back to it.
It's discipline, isn't it, to say, hey, this is a different time. No, that's awesome. That's fantastic. So as we start to wrap out, Shannel, here, the secret of helping business owners have a successful business and home life without burning out. We talked earlier about the Gary Vee example, but and I joke here, 7 days a week, 20 hours a day, and things like that. We talked about that, but talk to me about what you view is, you've got the women into your coaching courses and your events and your retreats, that women empowerment, that confidence, that ability to sort of be honest with them, all that's happening. So talk to me about how you really massage and get that. What's that real secret sauce type of thing about, getting that business and home life without burning out? What would you say?
I think, again, it goes back to the SAS method, which I love it because it goes across everything. But it's really, really getting down to the root of what you want from your home life. Because, there's lots of movies and there's lots of people online that we think, wow, their marriage is fantastic or their kids are perfect and, her makeup always looks amazing, whatever. But it's really understanding what you really want out of your home life and then being unapologetic for it. And, and for some people, they want to be a stay-at-home mom, but they feel like they need to apologize for that because, they're not this, whatever they see the world portraying. Or it's the opposite. There's so many people that I found in careers that feel bad that they have a nanny or they have a babysitter, that their kid goes to daycare.
People are judging them or something. They feel that maybe are judging them or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And my thing is, you figure out what you want and then you go for it, right? You stand in that moment of me asking like, hey, hello, I'm Shannel Rivera, can I have that job? Stand in that and really own that power, that you have that power to do whatever it is that you want. And making those decisions are entirely up to you and, maybe your significant other or what have you. But the world will say a lot of things, that you should have kids, you shouldn't have kids, that you should have a job, you shouldn't have a job. And my thing is you should do whatever the heck it is that you want to do. And one easy way to do this that I teach is what I call writing down things that are non-negotiable and things that are okay misses. And so non-negotiables are things, it could be in your business or your home life where you're like, I'm not missing this. And for me, a non-negotiable is dinner with my husband. I want dinner with my husband. So if there is something that conflicts with it and I can't move it around easily, I don't do it. I say no to it. And and then there's okay misses. So many people are conditioned that you have to be great at everything. And I'm the anti-greatness person. Pick a couple things that you're super awesome at and be good at them. And that's it. And, okay misses to me are, in my business, it was like, I didn't take the best pictures. Okay. Some people have like these fancy photo shoots and my pictures are crappy, but for me, I didn't care and it didn't matter. I still made a lot of money. So really sitting down with what am I willing to never, bend or break on? And what are the things where I'm like, yeah, I'm not good at that. In my home life, it's dinner. I'm a terrible cook. So we eat out a lot and I could feel really guilty about it, but I choose to say that I'm not good at it. And, some people may coach you to say, well, go take cooking classes, go figure. And I'm like,
but if it makes you sad, you don't want that. You want to be going the other direction.
Yeah. So I'm always teaching people to pick the things that you're super awesome at and get better at those things. And the things that you're not good at, you can either delegate them out or you get rid of them, like cooking dinner. I mean, that's up to a local chef here in Vegas every night of what my family's going to eat for dinner, not me. You know?
That's awesome. I really love it. And it's so true, because sometimes we're so fearful, aren't we, of saying, oh, what other people think? And, you know, what if people see me doing, you know, hey, if it's legal and it's decent and it's what you want to do, then, you know, go for it. And that's for sure. Shannel, I've thoroughly enjoyed speaking to you. The journey is beyond awesome. You know, I love, like I said, right at the top of the show, one of the highlights of my week is when I do my podcast. Just learning stories, sharing sort of journeys, allowing these stories to be sort of, you know, battered around and referenced and hey, you know, and sharing that with the audience. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. As I said, we're going to post all the show notes on the page on publication. We're going to be pushing this out on the 20th of May, I believe. It's going to be the release date. We're going to put all Shannel's social channels out there. But if you search Beauty and Hustle, and obviously don't forget to check out the Move Together campaign as well. This is covered with one of the Facebook campaigns with Shannel's Beauty and Hustle on there. What I want you to do as well is go to Shannel's brand, Beauty and Hustle. Just look how distinctive it is. Very powerful and strong. Follows through the consistency. You know, Shannel talked about the pink lipstick earlier on. She couldn't wear it at FedEx. And you look at the Beauty Hustle brand now, it's just raw with passion and emotion. It's saying, come on. And I actually love that. It's one of the things that when I started doing the research on your business and you, Shannel, I actually sort of loved it. It just caught my eye. Reminded me as a tattoo studio to start with. It came up as a tattoo brand originally. Then I thought, oh, no, it doesn't. No, and then it found its own identity the more I looked at it. But that was my initial thing there. Really powerful to support Shannel's awesome, you know, personality and character. So as we start to wrap up on this, you know, for people who want to create this seven-figure brand, we've talked about so much on the show today, and so much value. So again, thank you. If we were to condense this down into sort of 3 summary tips, so the audience can say, yeah, I'll go back and skip and fast forward and rewind the podcast or the video, but give me in a short, sharp basis, what are the 3 tips that you're looking at to make sure that we can create this 6 to 7 figure brand organically through the Facebook communities?
Yeah, it goes back to the SAS method. Be strategic. You know, make sure that you're goal setting and that you're goal setting realistically and that you can continue to do that. Lead with your authenticity and start your personal brand today. If you are listening to this, start it today. It can evolve, it can grow, it can go backwards, it can go forwards. You can change the colors, you can change all the imagery, but start today. And if you're feeling really stuck on this, one thing that I love to ask people, because we get really hung up on what things look like when we think of a brand, you know, like what's the colors, what's the insignia, what's the tagline. And I always ask my clients, what do you want your customers to feel from your brand when they shop with you? Start there and then go backwards if you're feeling, you know, stuck. And then the last thing is the soul piece. And the biggest thing that I've learned is how to say no to everything that doesn't make me happy, make me money, or save me time. And by saying no, it's allowed me to say yes and show up in a way bigger way. And so if you can go through life utilizing the SAS method and saying no and personally branding yourself and being super strategic and goal setting, you will continue to evolve and you can easily grow a brand because people are going to be able to connect with you in such a fluid way that sometimes it almost feels crazy how I've been able to build this. But when I really pull back the later, it's not crazy at all. You know, they've been connected to this and wanting to see where it goes. And so that's exactly what I would do, especially personal branding. Start today. How do you want your customers to feel?
Yeah, that's great. And the thing, I just want to back up a couple of things there, Shannel. I just want to rewind what you said there. If you're in the car, you want to stop and pull over, write this down, you know, bookmark it, you know, the audio. What Shannel said there is the 3 things, and you know, it was in the soul section. She doesn't do anything that doesn't make her happy. Doesn't make her the money that she deserves for her expertise and time, or it doesn't save her time. And time, as we know, is one of the biggest resources. Well, it's the most valuable resource that, you know, we're all, you know, privileged to have. So that is something there, and that's absolute dynamite. Thank you for covering that at the end there in the soul section.
Yeah.
So thanks again, Shannel. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. Thanks for taking your time out of the heat of sunny Las Vegas. It's no doubt it's going to get warmer than going forward. It's been an absolute pleasure on the show. And again, we're going to post all the show notes below. If you do want to connect with Shannel, head over to beautyandhustle.com. Check out the hashtag Beauty and Hustle Facebook group. And don't forget to go over to sasmethod.com and take advantage of Shannel's free 1 hour training, where we're going to even get a lot down, deeper into this, and understand this a little bit more. And, check out and invest some time. Go and learn, educate yourself. And following Shannel in the story is a great place to start. So thanks again, Shannel. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you.
So, as always, we appreciate you tuning into the show and to continue your growth engine development. As always, to get in the game, go do the hustle, go make it happen, and we'll see you on next week's show.
You have been listening to The Open Mic, brought to you by The Success Hub. To find out more and to get the resources we have mentioned in this podcast episode, simply visit blog.thesuccesshub.io and view the podcast section. Thanks for listening, and we look forward to catching up with you in our next episode. This podcast and associated materials is published under copyright to The Success Hub. All rights reserved. No reproduction of this material is permitted.